This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
The numbers told the story, they always do.
It's one of those idiots who believe in analytics.
This is a numbers game with Gill Alexander on VSiN.
Hour number 3 of a numbers game at VSiN, the sports betting network, VSiN.com, Game Plus, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV, and of course, Sirius XM Channel 158. Gill Alexander, big thank you again to Dustin Sweetelson, who was in this week for Kelly Bidlett. Kelly will be back on Monday. I will be doing the show from San Francisco on Monday. Let's hope that goes well. A couple things here before we get to Stevie. Stevie Fezzik, by the way, in for a full hour today for Fezzik Fridays. Oh, get ready. Scott Cup. Man, Scott, I'm sorry, man. I knew somebody was on the wrong end of this. So Scott Cup put together a boosted 3-leg draw parlay. Oh, I know Stevie loves draw parlays, meaning he doesn't at all. But he had Japan, draw, hit. He was on, that was the one that we were on. He hit the Paraguay draw late last night as well. And guess what the third was? Turkey and the USA, which was about to be a draw until the 98th minute. I mean, the last moment. They were probably blowing the whistle if that ball doesn't go in. It was within a few seconds. It would have paid him 38-1. Goes by the wayside. Jack Olaquire. Gil, I miss Kelly when he's not around, but I listen to Dustin at night also, so it was great seeing him take Kelly's place. Great shows all week. Yes, love Dustin. Absolutely great having him here. And when I'm off next, I think he's in this chair. Eric Biggio, MLB most wins in July, should be out later today, early tomorrow at William Hill Caesars. Good luck if you've got any live ones in June. Thank you so much, Eric. Appreciate that. We all look forward to getting those and then handicapping away. Fezzik Fridays begins now. Let's go.
Whether it's at the sportsbook or anywhere else in the casino, he's always helping us find an edge. It's time for Fezzik Fridays.
Starring Stevie Fezzik, the only back-to-back winner of the Hilton Super Contest back in the day. Good morning, sir.
When those Earth, Wind, and Fire tickets come in, you got me down, right?
And we start with a Fast Times at Ridgemont High reference. Do you see the Earth, Wind, and Fire documentary?
I have not. You've told me it's fantastic.
God,
you know,
it's
Barry
so
Manilow is still going strong.
Did somebody, who was it that told me this? Was it Crack who told me this? That Barry Manilow, for those who don't know, played here at the Westgate for many, many years. But he had I know that he had some issue with his throat that had all of a sudden, because he couldn't sing. And he finally came back the other night, and Crack said someone, like, went on stage, and, like, Barry Manilow, like, freaked out. He was like, because the guy, like, took a swipe at his sheet music or something. I don't know what the details. Yeah, but he's okay.
I saw him like 10 years ago. The thing I loved the most was all these jingles that he did, like A Good Neighbor. Yeah. State Farm is here. You deserve a break today. It's all him.
That's
McDonald's,
all him. Yeah. Was Kit Kat him too, I think? Give me a break, give me a break. I think that was him too.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, that's
no, Band-Aid was his. That was his big one.
Oh.
Stuck on Band-Aid because Band-Aid stuck on
me.
That's Barry Manilow.
There we go.
Yeah. Steve Fezzik, everybody. That's it. You can go now. Steve, let's start with the play. First of all, before we do that, can I get your reaction to this gentleman's 3-leg draw parlay?
Well, he's doing everything right, so he gets a boost.
Yes.
All right, so why, my pet peeve, like that people go parlay crazy, all right? And the irony is, throughout the 1990s, no one was playing parlays more than me. I was playing 6, 7, 8, and 10-team parlays on parlay cards.
They called you Mr. Parlay, I believe.
It's just because they had stale numbers on their parlay cards. So no one has hit more parlays than I have, over the years, including Bert Osborne. I once hit a $200 10-teamer at South Point. Paid $130,000, shook my hand.
When Bert Osborne was running the South Point, yeah.
Now under new management, that's not as winning is not as encouraged.
Wow.
But
really? You're going to say that out front? Okay, go ahead. Continue.
I love Bert Osborne. But getting back to Scott's parlays, because he had a boost, it makes sense. By the way, if you have a free play, this is the poster child of a great free play, because remember, when you have a free play, they take away your free play, win or lose, all right? So you want to play the biggest dog possible. So a big parlay, a 3-teamer at 6-1, or even like, an accumulated draw at 35-1 is a fantastic way to use free plays.
I feel like I need to represent my mishpucha here and say to you, oh, yeah, sure, Stevie, like you weren't taking shots.
Well, if using my player's card is going to get me kicked out for playing $10, $90 parlay cards, as my mom used to say, you're better off without friends like that.
Oy vey.
Oy vey.
Okay. Can we start with a play from you?
Absolutely.
And what I like about this is, you were, I don't know, maybe you wouldn't admit this. Early in the season, in May, I want to say, you were betting the Atlanta Braves to win the NL East. Like
go.
That's right. Go. Multiple goes.
Atlanta plus 225.
Yeah.
Atlanta plus 175. Atlanta plus 100. And then Atlanta minus 175.
Yeah.
Every day, like to quote the movie Meatballs, every day we're eating more and more hot dogs before the hot dog eating contest. And we are eating the Atlanta Braves, who opened up an 8, 9, 10 game lead.
I believe I said to you, Stevie, you know it's May, right? I believe I said that to you. Now, what are you doing now?
Well, all right. So some would argue we're a little late to the party, but we're not, because we have this great portfolio of Atlanta dollar cost average still way on the plus side to win the division. So set up the Phillies to win the National League East. Go. We are betting the Phillies plus 230 or more, even plus 225 or more. Why? Everything has changed. The Phillies, who, as Joe Pita once said, that team got old overnight.
Yeah.
But that team can pitch, and their pitching has been great, and they've cut the lead from like 9 games down to 4 games. And I got to tell you, I'm not sure who should be favored anymore.
Yeah.
Now, I know Fangraphs has Atlanta winning comfortably still, as does Team Rankings, but I am very uncomfortable with Atlanta. I'm more than happy. No one else is going to win.
Well,
the Nats aren't going to win.
The Phillies would love to play the Nationals bullpen every night, that's for sure. By the way, I don't know if anybody caught Mark Borchardt on the show yesterday, but one of the things we went over, the Washington Nationals, if you did the bizarro exercise of playing them, favorite or dog, every single game for a unit, they're the most profitable money line team in baseball, but they're also the most profitable first 5 team in baseball. And yesterday was a great example of them winning the first 5 and them getting crushed later. By the way, first 5s, the Nationals, not only are the most profitable team in baseball, they lap the field.
Ooh.
Second place is like half. The Cleveland Guardians like half the number of units. But anyway, Phillies took advantage of the bullpen once again yesterday and win. Let's talk about soccer for a second. U.S. and Turkey yesterday. Turkey wins in the 98th minute. And in no consequence in terms of the situation and for USA advancing. Turkey was already eliminated. But you thought this was the right spot, the absolute right spot to fade the United States.
And to be fair, I got that one right, but I got the U.S. game, the second game, wrong, where I said fade the U.S. So, like, I talked to the folks that was over at the Win, and they're like, it's all USA. It's like that movie Towering Inferno. It's out of control, and it's heading right for you with the flames going higher and higher. Basically, everyone is betting the U.S. each and every game, and the game didn't mean anything to the U.S., so I sent it out to our group chat, but unfortunately, I wasn't on yesterday, so $80 fine, past posted winner, yes.
Now, if you're scoring at home, we have had references to the 1982 cult classic Fast Times at Ridgemont High, 1979's Meatballs, and I believe Towering Inferno was the 70s as well, was it?
O.J. Simpson and a stellar cast.
We are bringing in Gen X and Gen Z like nobody's business. Millennials, too. Okay, Crack was on yesterday. I know you listened to his spots. He listens to your spots. There was something he said yesterday that you loved.
Oh, people can't seem to distinguish between an absolute Hall of Fame guest versus a good guest. And Crack is a Hall of Fame guest because sometimes he puts little Easter eggs, cryptic things.
He does.
If you're paying attention. So, like, literally.
By the way, before you even continue, sometimes he'll say to me at dinner, he'll be like, even you missed when I said this. So he does do that, yeah.
So just as like an aside, he's like, no one's meeting with more people. He's got more going on than Crack. But, like, he's at a casino. He's going to dinner. Maybe he's going to John George or wherever he's dining. And he's just going to, like, take the time to go into the high-limit room. Why? Because he's an advantage player, and he knows the advantage slots. He knows the advantage video poker. He knows what to look for. Now, he's not going to lay it out for you exactly what he's doing. But by contrast, there's all these other content providers. Oh, big man, big gambler, and every time I remember one time Frank B.
How do they walk around? How do they do that? What do they do?
Oh, big man, walk around. I know everything. And Frank B. texts me, and he goes, Steve, I'm at the Joker's Wild putting in cards against Lupo's people, Stardust. He's like right next to me. I'm not going to mention the gentleman's name, but it was like a long-standing handicapper in Vegas. And he says, so-and-so is playing 96% video poker for quarters. The whole, and it was football season. Like the whole point of Frank Beast's post is like, we're all working 80 hours a week. We're so busy during football season, and I get take the edge off or whatever. But like Crack would be like the type of guy, I don't have time to play 101% video poker, yet this guy has time to just chuck away $20 aimlessly, mindlessly playing stupid video poker.
It's brutal. No, pardon me, Crack described it perfectly yesterday, which is the three of us with Nifty, we came out of the restaurant, he took us to this one slot machine. I went my way, him and Nifty went another, and then he said it was, I'll just put words in his mouth, it was at least bothering him enough in his head, or at least was gnawing at him enough that he had to go back to the machine and actually play it a little.
If you see Frank B or Crack playing Frankenstein Monster in the casino, I assure you that those multipliers exist to the point where they have the edge. They're not just playing Frankenstein to see the monster, and the graphic displays.
Yeah. You talked about this last week, but before we get to the break here, again, you said if you're a parent, if you have kids, don't bring them to Vegas in the summer because yesterday was like 110 or whatever it was. You wanted to add some other places to your list of where they should go?
San Francisco area.
There you go.
There you go. Go to Carmel, go to Pacific Grove, go on the walk there, play the Pacific Grove Muni course, drive down to Big Sur, go to Vancouver, go to the mountains, go to Aspen. Go down to Laguna Beach. Go where the weather's great. You can have the time of your lives, or you can just be a bad parent and play 97% video poker, and lose money while your kids are in 110 degree heat.
All right, but if you don't have kids, you said if you're rich, stay at the Wynn. You said.
Oh yeah, very rich. Stay at the Wynn. If you're rich and you love sports, stay at Circa. It's fantastic. And hanging out, Forum Shop, Caesars, or Bellagio's. Really good.
There you go. More with Stevie next on A Numbers Game. You're here because you want an edge. That's what separates listeners from winners. But let's be real, mindset alone doesn't get bets home. Pros win because they've got the tools, the data, and the discipline. And now so can you. VEASAN Pro gives you access to the same real-time insights the sharps use. No secrets, no fluff, just actionable info that moves markets. Tap the link and see why serious bettors are turning knowledge into profit with VEASAN Pro.
A Numbers Game on VEASAN, the sports betting network.
Well, sitting next to a gentleman who plays at least two of these three. Actually, I don't know. Does he play Survivor? We'll find out. $30 million in guaranteed prizes, though. Circa's got you covered three ways. Cash in this football season with three of them. We're talking about Circa Millions, 18 weeks, 128 ways to win. Circa Survivor, you pick one winner each week. Last one standing wins. And Circa Grandissimo, Survivor for the high rollers, $100,000 entry. Every dollar stays in the pool. Entry starting at $1,000, all with no rake, with the exception of Grandissimo, which is $100,000. Enter in Nevada, play from anywhere. $30 million guaranteed. Visit circasports.com for details. You play millions. You play Survivor at all?
Yes. And let's talk some Survivor here.
Okay.
Can I tell you about something that drives me crazy?
Please. Oh.
When people are projecting how many winners they're going to be, and like inevitably there's the overreaction Monday, right? So when there's carnage, like I don't think we're going to make it to Halloween, at this rate. And the bottom line is it's memoryless. Like going forward every 2 weeks, or every double week, if you will, you're going to lose about half the field. It's that simple. So there's 20 weeks. So since every 2 weeks we're going to lose half the people, you have about a 1 in 1,000 chance. So if 20,000 people enter, we would expect 20 winners, approximately. I'm just, this is back of the envelope rounding. And so you can do this exercise, going forward. Just take the number of people left and assume you're going to chop the field in half every 2 weeks, moving forward to get a projected number of winners. But what I want to talk about Survivor is that bad news. Everyone listening, you're not going to win. All right. And here's why. It's the same as playing the main event in the World Series of Poker. You're not going to make the final table in your lifetime. Now, you might, but the only way you're going to do it is to get massively lucky to do so. So now is the time. What month are we in? June still?
It's June.
We got time. Line up your ducks in terms of what you're going to do to monetize your Survivor once you get through September and through October. And what do I mean by that? Start talking to some people and saying, hey, I'm going to be looking to sell some of my Survivor. you want to buy a piece of me if I'm still alive come Halloween, etc. Instead of like panic. It's November 5th, and I want to start to figure out what I'm doing. Like, plan ahead and start talking to some people, because I can tell you, guys like Crackman, other people, if you give them an offer they can't refuse, they're gonna love to have a piece of your Survivor. I did that, 3 years ago, and got a piece of Greg Jones's winning Survivor. Mm-hmm. So, but you want to line this all up earlier rather than later. I will say about this, like, I love free plays. We talk about free play. And I'm a big believer in rip the free play as quickly as possible, because you never know when that person or book that gives you the free play, like famously DraftKings does this all the time. They give somebody $20,000 in free play, and then they make their max bet $3, and they can't use the free play because they're unable to. So use it as quickly as possible. But the one exception to the rule, free play is great for Survivor, because you play a 10-point favorite. Boom. How do you protect it? You take your little finger and with your free play and play the other guys on the money line, and that's a nice protection.
One thing about that, because obviously Survivor has evolved here at Circa, and we saw there's been cottage industries of podcasts. Now there's the sidebar of everybody investing in everybody else's. But when you're saying that, remember when you did it, when you invested in Greg Jones's, you, correct me if I'm wrong, it was like 75 cents on the dollar sort of that you bought it for? What was it again?
I believe it was, I think it was 80 cents, but you're in the neighborhood. Yeah.
And then remember last year that people were asking for like more than it was worth?
They're asking for a premium because people want, they want to be part of the squeeze and the juice, they want, and I think part of it is they want to be able to, like, I was just an investor. I would never say I was a Survivor winner, although
you stood up there with the check, Stevie.
I got the jacket. I got the jacket. There's the jacket story in my defense is they say, do you want a jacket?
Tell the jacket story.
Do you want a jacket? I'm like, yeah. Heck yeah, get the dump button. Heck yeah, I want the jacket, right? So the tailor measures me in the whole thing, and he's like, fantastic. I'm going to get me a jacket. And then he says, I'm up there with Spooky and with Greg, and then the tailor's like, okay, I need a credit card. I'm like, what's this? I thought jackets were like complimentary for like all the winners, and it's like Blues Brothers. Shoot, no, you owe us a lot of money for that beer and that jacket, son.
I remember when they told me you got the jacket. I'm like, oh, this guy, I cannot believe.
So I go into negotiation mode. I'm a local. I'm a senior, so I get the jacket for $7.25 instead of $8.50. But hey, as Stu would say in Fast Times, where'd you get that jacket? When people ask me, right?
Oh, my God. Well, if you haven't seen Fast Times at Ridgemont High, please get on it. It's a good movie. No spoiler alerts from Stevie. Bet Bash is about to happen. I had Spanky on earlier in the week. About to, meaning beginning of August, so not imminent, but it's happening at the beginning of August. You're doing your own thing right before that. Let's talk about your thing first.
Yeah, Vegas betting event. It's my betting boot camp. Really excited about this. I pour my heart and soul into this. And we talk about things like optimization of free plays, optimal teaser play, things that a lot of these things are obvious, but you never do it, and then when you talk about it, and a lot of it isn't obvious in terms of optimal play. How to find out, I hear this all the time, how do you find out if somebody's a winning or a losing bettor? Someone just did a video, like 20 minutes, convoluted, it was all accurate about, am I following somebody who's a winner? I would argue they're all making this too hard. You know how you can find out if somebody's a winner that you're tailing? Ask a guy like Crackman who knows. Mm-hmm. He'll be honest. Just say, hey, does this guy win crack? And he'll say, well, that guy says he's hitting 58%, but no, he doesn't win, and here's why. And here's why the documentation is flawed. But knowing people that know people in the industry, really, really, an advantageous thing. I'll say this, different animals. If you want to have fun, don't come to the betting boot camp. Okay, we might have some fun. Hey, Todd's going to speak.
Todd Wishnev will be there.
Todd Wishnev, Anthony Curtis, Las Vegas advisor, is going to be. Crackman's going to be there. I'm going to get Michael Fiddle, NBA expert.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be. Be speaking.
You didn't give your co-founder of this a shout.
Yeah, Kevin O'Neill.
Oh, you did. Kevin O'Neill. Okay.
So Kevin O'Neill and I did this 15 years ago, and Kevin was actually the first guy to go 7-0 in the Stardust Invitational. So he wrote a couple books on handicapping, went into corporate world for a little while. Now he's back. So love Kevin O'Neill. And so I will say, so Bet Bash is a lot more fun. If you're a drinker, go to Bet Bash, with all these open bars and Spanky and entertainment, the Hall of Fame dinner. It really is a great time. And they've got some great panelists. I will say this. Directionally, a lot of the Bet Bash people are absolutely spot on correct. They hate touts. They hate people that sell picks. And I agree with them directionally for the most part. But it's similar to like blackjack basic strategy where, all right, you stand on 12 against a 6. But I assure you, there are times you should hit 12 against a 6, all right? If you're a card counter, same thing. I mean, anyone that tells me, oh, don't get Carl Sachs plays, don't get Dr. Bob's plays, don't get Jeff Berlin's at JB Wynn's plays. I mean, they just aren't paying enough attention.
There are always exceptions to the rule.
Exactly.
Sure. Now, one of the things that Spanky does with Bet Bash, he is not only the founder of Bet Bash, but he also founded this Sports Gambling Hall of Fame here with Derek.
Oh, dear.
And it's right in the corner behind us. Here comes the oh, dear. You have opinions on this.
What if I told you that there was a poker Hall of Fame and they have a lot of poker room managers that were all voting for each other to be in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, that'd be stupid.
I mean, that guy invented instead of everybody doing a blind, just the big blind having the blind. And that's kind of where I'm at with Sports Betting Hall of Fame. So there's certain guys that aren't in the Sports Betting Hall of Fame that, in my opinion, you can disagree.
Let's distinguish. Sports Betting Hall of Fame is something that's happening on the East Coast. That's a lot of administrators. This is because that one was called the Sports Betting Hall of Fame. This is the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame.
I still think the majority of people should get there for their sports betting prowess.
Right, I'm just making the distinction.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yes. Yeah. And I put one in the same, and there's two of them. Yeah. But like certain guys, like I'm very I'm a historian. I mean, I love guys, and I see why people might not agree with everything they did. But I love Mark Lawrence, and I think he belongs in there.
Very, very nice man.
Yes. Jim Feist, I think, belongs in there.
Super nice man.
Yeah, both those guys, they literally were the pioneers, and Mark's going strong with his playbook and his cup of coffee and everything he's doing. It's a guy we never talk about, and I never got to meet him. Doc of Doc Sports, the Big Ten game of the year, and now Wade is running, Doc Sports. And I never had met Wade. I had lunch with Wade recently. Great guy, so I had a great conversation with him. But I go back to Dr. Bob Sports. He's in the Wall Street Journal. He's moving every one of these lines.
Yeah.
Going back to the Big Ten game of the year, I remember going in the 80s, and every Big Ten game was circled. What's this? They're all circled for their limits because the Doc Big Ten game of the year is about to drop. I mean, that's just great stuff. And obviously, there's great odds makers. I have a preference for Kenny White. Kenny White was the best of all the great odds makers in my eyes. But there's numerous ones. Jimmy Vaccaro and Chris Andrews, and all of them do a great job.
I always, whenever this conversation comes up, I'm very close to Dr. Bob, so I feel like I'm stumping for my friend. The person who I'm not as close to that I think should be in is Elihu Feustel. Elihu Feustel, who has written books on betting, but more importantly, Ghost writ Pinnacle's newsletter back in the day under Simon Noble, and was just in 7 as a moderator at SBR, helping people for many years on his own time. He should absolutely be
100%.
in.
And there was a snake draft. Everyone would take Dr. Bob or Elihu or Rufus Peabody over all these administrators.
A numbers game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is our NFL betting guide. It is available to you. Our pro guide includes 3 burning questions for all 32 teams. Love that angle. 3 burning questions for all 32 teams. They're on fire, those questions. Early best bets on props and futures, predictions for 2026 playoff teams. All of us, 23 different VSiN personalities chiming in on who they think is going to win every division, conferences, Super Bowl, and then everybody's best bets in there as well. $175. Full VSiN Pro access through the Super Bowl. Check it out, vsin.com/subscribe. You have thoughts on the betting guide, sir?
Yes. Well, let me talk about 2 things that I don't like. Okay, about the betting guides. All right,
the betting guides,
all
plural.
of them, and I'll talk about many of them, plural. Yes. Mm-hmm. It seems like there's people love to throw trends out there, and they throw out sample sizes. They say teams that were plus 20 in turnovers the year before regress in wins 3+. All right, they throw out these numbers. Well, of course they regress. They were any team that's massively lucky. That doesn't mean no good. You got to tell me how did that team do against their posted season win number? For example, winless teams tend to improve the following year. Undefeated teams in college tend to get worse. Thank you. That's helpful, Randy. I did not know that. But the point is, how do they do against the posted number, which goes ahead and does adjust for that. But another one of my pet peeves too is like when someone comes up with something really smart and then the market picks up on it and corrects for it. So kudos to the whale capper who nailed this before. Maybe someone did it before. Alternative totals. Yeah. Like he's like, what's this? I can play an NFL team that's off by one game, sell the game, basically. Get instead of buying an extra game, if a team's lined to 8.5, I'm going to sell it. I'm going to play them over 9.5, and I'm getting like plus 215, plus 220. I'm getting like 120 cents better. And that was wildly profitable. And so Drew nailed that. He did great, and a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon, but the word got out. Mm-hmm. And so now, like, I'm reading these betting guides, and they're making recommendations to sell a game on certain teams, and you're only getting like a 60-cent bump, and you're getting a game worse. That's horrendous. I mean, it's still worth a lot to get that extra game. How much is it worth? I would say on half a game, 40 cents. On a full game, 85 cents. So you were getting like 115 extra cents. It was really profitable. It is no longer. Alternative totals, in my opinion, there's always an exception to the rule, but they're largely dead because the odds makers, Jeff Sherman and all these odds makers, they're no dummies, and they adjust for this sort of thing.
Yeah, let's give an example, because you were giving one off air, which was, let's take the Bengals. Over 10.5 plus one, so over 9.5 minus 110. Then there's over 10.5 plus 175 is probably an equal bet. But if you only get plus 150 on the over 10.5, that's not good. Yeah, so you have to be price sensitive.
I would say a game is worth 85 cents. And before all the people throw me under the bus and said, it all depends, Fez. I agree. It does depend. And a team that is lined at 8.5 is more likely to sway further from the 8.5 than a team lined at like 12 or at 4.5. But in general, anyone who's about to load up and play a whole bunch of alts, selling a game and playing them at plus 170, give me a call. I'll make you a better offer.
This is I think it's one of the topics we don't necessarily talk about enough when we're doing sports betting shows, because it's abstract. You can't really put guardrails or time parameters on it precisely, so it's probably why we don't talk about it. But it's, anytime you've had an edge in your sports betting life, so you bring up the alternative win total markets, prices aren't what they were. That was very quick, right? It only took a couple of years for that to go away. But, I talk about like baseball in the early 2010s, right? You could crush baseball, but you have to recognize when that edge disappears. The game changes, right? Starting pitchers don't go as long. Openers start for some teams. So your ability to wrap your handicapping arms around that dissipates. You have to also release the plays earlier or bet them earlier. Morning of game used to be okay, but now, you got to bet the overnight, right? So you have to be able to recognize those things. And it's I'm not saying it's easy. It's a tough thing to admit also in certain cases, right? You have to be super non-emotional about it, whether it's a sport that you've been handicapping for a long time that you were successful at, you're like, oh, the party's over, or pricing like you're referring to. It's a really interesting sidebar to all this. Is what makes sports betting so interesting.
100%. And I think what's great, by the way, you're talking about like with Mark Borchardt, and you just did the halfway point summary with MLB, and you talk about the Bizarro expert. Does Bizarro mean you bet every single time the same way? I don't know it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not what Bizarro means. In this case, that's what it means.
But what does Bizarro mean? I don't, because you quote that all the time. What's the definition of Bizarro?
just an alternative world. Yeah.
Okay.
Is how I mean it.
Okay, but like I love what he does where he comes out and he talks about the first five and how great the Washington Nats have been. And I really think that there's certain teams, like there's anomalies that are unbelievable. Like the New Orleans Saints is a great example. The Saints last year were horrendous in the first quarter. They were like 2-15-1 or something, absolutely like you couldn't believe how bad they were. But the Saints were a team that when they won the coin toss, they took the ball. So they should have been a great first quarter team, and they were like the worst team in the league. So it's like there's something about the Saints that they are just not ready to go when the game starts.
Okay, now I feel like I have to do that thing at the end of PTI where they go, okay, errors or whatever. I want to clean up some stuff that you've talked about because I want to clarify.
Yeah.
All right. when it comes to, because the VSiN NFL betting guide is really outstanding. I think it's the most digestible of all betting guides that I've ever seen. Adam Burke and company do a great job with this. One of the clarifications I want to make, though, is your point on guides are they should just be literally a guide.
Yes, don't go out and bet the 98 different recommended bets out there. Like, as an example.
Yes, we do not recommend that.
Example,
yes.
Like one of the experts recommended to play Buffalo to win. I think that's you, to win the division. Minus 125, not you. Okay. Somebody else recommended play New England, plus 125 to win the division. Obviously, if you bet both of those, you're going to break even, unless by some miracle the Jets or Miami win the division, and then you're going to get scooped. So you're not going to make money just copying, but use it as a guide. And I really think your first two guides to go with is, I'm a big believer, start with a more of a streamline. I don't like having an encyclopedia to start with, okay? So my go-to, I love Mark Lawrence's playbook. I read that cover to cover, and it's very digestible, and I read the VSiN guide. That's like my first point. I'm making my notes on all the teams. And then you can move into greater depth. Like, let's say you're about to bet some stuff, and you're really looking to digest it big time, like the VSiN guide made a lot of good cases, I thought, for the Atlanta Falcons, perhaps to be a much better team this year. All right, so now we move towards the Warren Sharp or the Football Outsiders, and we open up the War and Peace, which is way too thick to read.
Yes.
So read the 40 pages on Atlanta. Don't read no one has enough hours in the day to try to digest.
No, this is great. I like this strategy.
Find the bets you are about to make on like 4 or 5 teams, and then go to the encyclopedias and really read up on those teams before wagering your hard-earned money.
Well, and then you also say, and then you can be creative about it. So then you wait to week 1, and if, let's say, Tua plays well against Pittsburgh, then you start firing on Atlanta. After that, you seek corroboration also.
100%, because and we all know this, okay? Like Will Hill, the Bear, Todd, you and I, like, how many season win bets do we text back and forth right before the season starts?
Yeah. Not many.
Not many.
Yeah.
You know, it's college football. Bet a zillion on every Dr. Bob play. Thank you. All right. But he's not doing college football or college basketball, so that's not going to work this year. Another reason he should be in the Hall of Fame is that he could make tons of money selling his stuff. He's like, no, I'm going to spend time with my kids. He'll still be doing NFL. But as soon as like week 2 is over, all of a sudden, like we're like, well, that number's stupid, you know, certain teams. A great example in baseball, if you were paying attention, and I'm past boasting, so there's going to be a fine. But like Washington and St. Louis were both supposed to be god awful this year.
Correct.
So all the money poured in on Washington, the Nats under 64.5, and St. Louis closed at like under 67.5. And then, as Todd would say, well, both those teams can really rake. You know, they can hit.
Right.
And if you can hit, guess what? You can win, as both those teams have done.
Okay, another one. We were talking about Circa Survivor. You still feel, again, just in purpose of clarification, you still feel Millions is the better game.
If you are really good at sports betting, your ROI is way higher in Millions. Just because it's much more of a game of skill. It would be like, to use an example, it would be like a poker tournament where Survivor is like a turbo poker tournament and Millions is like a 6-day mixed game tournament where having great expertise is going to land you with way more cashes and titles.
Okay. Want to say something nice, because earlier you said if you don't bring your kids to Vegas, but if you do have kids, what's the recommendation? Where should you go?
I would go to Station, like Red Rock or Green Valley, or I'd go South Point. I love South Point with the movie theater, the $1.50 hot dogs.
I was trying to get you to say something nice about the South Point after you said something mean earlier.
I just said that Chrissy does a great job with, and he's a great Hall of Famer. And across the board, that's true for the poker room. That's true for the table games. You go in there on any night, 10 o'clock, and it is packed. 3-2 blackjack, good rules. Everything. You go into some of these strip places, shoot a cannon, don't hit nothing. No one is gambling, and there's a reason. 6-5 blackjack. Give me a break.
Bonus segment with Stevie next.
A numbers game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Contest coming up. Winner's Circle Proxy Service has you covered. Now remember, here's the deal. Circus football contests are open. You do not have to live in Las Vegas to play after your required in-person registration. You will have to be here to register. But then after that, you can go about your merry way. Go back to where you came from. Winner's Circle Proxy handles your weekly submissions so you can make your picks from anywhere in the country. Winner's Circle Proxy, VSiN's preferred proxy service. One trip to Vegas, play all season long from anywhere. Schedule your appointment now at winnercircleproxy.com. We get tweets beating the book. Eminem J. Cartman. Wow. Hey, guys, only first two segments of First Hour made it to the podcast on both the ANG feed and VSiN feed. Thanks. Okay, so glad you asked that because a little clarification. So yesterday, we repurposed the baseball segments for the Beating the Book podcast. Everything else should be on ANG. Today, all the tennis segments are going on the Beating the Book feed. Everything else should be on the ANG feed. Sorry for the confusion on that. Very strange little couple days on that, but exception, not the rule. Trey Edge. Be careful of the Norway-France game, Gilly. Looks like Norway is now officially in punt formation. As for a common love of all things Earth, Wind, and Fire, that documentary was good, but I did not have Maurice White on spaceships in my reasons why I love them. It's a great documentary. It should be called The Rise and Fall of Earth, Wind, and Fire. By the way, scan the QR code on the screen if you want to subscribe to the Beating the Book podcast, if you want to re-listen to the baseball and tennis segments from yesterday and today, and, of course, the Megapod and Guessing Lines coming up this fall once again. Chris Heath, 1974, same year as the other disaster movie, Earthquake. That's right. Patrick Kelly calling you out, said you were past posting your Philadelphia Phillies bets. Got to bring in a line from the Sting, too, he says. Johnny Vegas, hey, guys, met Fez at Caesars a couple nights ago. Was kind to take 5 minutes to talk. I think he was hunting for multipliers on Ultimate X. How much time a week do you spend doing that?
Yeah, Johnny, great guy. Thanks for coming over and saying hi. You know, it all depends. It's summer, so I would never have time to do this. But shout out to my friend Anthony Curtis, slotslayers.com. And I was just reading his new book on advantage play, and it reminded me about the Ultimate X stuff. So, walking through a casino, it's an excuse to, get a drink and surf around.
Yeah. Prop Points follows us at the top of the hour. You wanted to say something about Prop Points?
I got hooked on John Hansen, does such a fine job, and it's one of my go-to shows that I listen to. And again, I just use all the recommendations as a guide, to help me and kind of jumpstart my work for the week, especially early in the week with their recommendations.
Yeah, with John Hansen, we'll be back during football season. Jeff Erickson and Nick Whalen do a great job on that show.
Great job.
All football season. Today, it's Jeff Erickson and Brandon Kravitz in for Nick Whalen on Prop Points at the top of the hour. All right, a couple more clarifications. One, you also like Ellis Island here for kids?
No, Ellis, well, you take your kids to the barbecue and take them to the restaurants, the $9.99 steak dinner with your player's card. Don't stay there with your kids because it's kind of in a rougher part of town there on Koval and Flamingo. Perfectly safe to walk over there. Yeah. Hey, I used to live in the Meridian.
It's one block over. It's
I used to live in the Meridian, right across the street. But like if you say, oh, Vegas is dead, you can't get any food deals, go to Ellis Island during the day and go to South Point between midnight and 6 a.m. and get a $7.95 steak dinner.
You brought up free play earlier. I don't think we can talk about this enough because a lot of people have it. A lot of people want to know the optimal way to use free play. Typically happens with deposit bonuses. What would you sort of direct people?
The bigger the underdog, the better. Okay. And so if let's say you have 8 free plays, just to make it simple. So 8 $100 free plays, how much is that worth? Well, it's not worth $800 because if you bet 8 $100 bets and you won them all, you'd get $800 back. If you were, just hitting 50%, you'll get $400 back. So it's worth 50 cents on the dollar. However, you can make it worth 75 cents on the dollar. The way to do that is to play like 6-1 underdogs. And a good example is you could play all 8 combinations. If you didn't want to take any risk, you could play all 8 combinations of a 3-team parlay. All right. And so you've covered every permutation. One of the 8 will win, and it will pay you $600. So now you're getting 75 cents on the dollar.
You also say play them as quickly as possible.
Yes, because you never know when someone's going to like you. And then they don't like you 3 weeks later, and they shut down your account.
This is a very Stevie problem.
And this is a very Will Hill problem. Hello, Will. How are you?
Yeah.
And so as soon as you get a free play, you rip it, baby. You just you use it as quickly as possible because you just never know if it's going to be around or if your account's still going to be in good standing the next month.
True dat. All right. Well, if you were wondering, hey, could we get through this show without being scathed by a Stevie Blackjack matter, you would be wrong. We cannot. Or if you were wondering if we could, we can't. You wouldn't be wrong. We just can't do it because Stevie has his blackjack hand of the day.
I know Todd Wishneb might or might not look great forward to these discussions.
He's had it. He's had it with your blackjack.
And Todd's really good at blackjack, as is Kelly B. I'll call him Kelly B, you know.
Okay.
But the pair of nines, we're going to talk about pair of nines, and we talked about A7 last time I talked about this. The reason I like to talk about hands that play themselves, because if you just think logically, every single decision is so easy. So the pair of nines, if you're playing against a deal or bust card, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, or a 6, you do indeed split the nines. You're going to try to win 2 units.
Not a 7.
Against the deuce, we'll get to that 7. Yeah, we're going to get against the deuce, it's a close call.
Yeah.
But nines against the 7, you do not split.
That's
okay? Right. Because you've got 18, which is a crappy hand. It's a losing hand, all right? In blackjack, if you got 18, every hand you would lose. But boy, there's no better up card to have if you got nines than a 7, because the dealer, if they flip over 10, it's cease hostilities time.
Cease hostilities.
See, the Kang said that in the original Star Trek movie. Because this is Kang, cease hostilities. They stop fighting with the Klingons. You actually, if you have nines, I believe against a 7 on a big positive count, plus counting or card counting, you're supposed to split. But for the most part, you just stand. Now, if you're up against an 8, you actually
split.
You split because you want to get to 19. You want to win by 1.
Right.
Okay, so it's worth it to go ahead and split and take the risk. If you're up against a dealer 9,
split.
You split because you want to get the push now. The dealer has 19. You got to get to 19. So you split 9s 2 through 9. But then if you're up against a 10 or an ace, you're screwed.
Cease hostilities.
Cease hostilities. You're screwed. Just stay. Hope for the best, even though you're a big underdog to win the hand. But if you split, obviously, you get murdered. So split 9s 2 through 9.
It's your blackjack hand of the day. Or week. I don't know what it is. Okay, you're big. So of all these things, because you're always, by the way, Steve on Twitter, contractually obligated to tell you that Steve Fezzik on Twitter is at Fezzik Sports. Follow at your own peril. He's a bit ornery on Twitter. He is liable to call you a Dumbo if you do something wrong. If I asked you of all the things you see, and I'll leave this open-ended for you, because a lot of stuff annoys you in sports betting, but if you had to distill it to one of the greatest hits of things that just drives you more up a wall than anything else, give me one of those greatest hits.
So I like the Yankees minus 200, but it's gone up to minus 250, and I'm not going to lay minus 250, so I'm going to put them in a parlay.
I knew this.
I mean, so think about it. So now instead of laying, because you could get the Yankees still on a betting exchange at a Profit X or a Cauchy or a Novig, you could still get the Yankees minus 232, right? But no, I don't want to lay minus 232, so I'll lay minus 250. Putting in a parlay doesn't change anything. You're still laying minus 250, so I don't know why that isn't obvious to everyone. It's obvious to everyone that I know, but we're the majority because I hear that from experts all that, and nothing invalidates an expert faster than saying that. They may as well say, I don't bet seriously. Or they may as well be saying, I don't win in my betting when they do that.
I thought what you were going to answer was the whole fair price thing, that some folks come on and they're like, what is it? Oh, you said fair price is minus 150, and that drives you crazy when they say that.
It's like all these analysts want to confuse you. Like all the time, like the too cool for school, all the bookmaker talk where they have to say, the Bengals are 4. Say minus 4, especially when the line's like 2 or 1.5. You say the minus. So if someone's driving and they're busy, but so often, Mark does it, the whale capper does it. I make the line. I make the fair line minus 130 on a baseball game. No one knows what it means. Like I asked 5 different people. They're like, I think he means it's minus 125, and others say, no, I think he means that it's no vig minus 130 plus 130. Just clarify exactly what it is. And I don't say a line is 3 flat. I have no idea what An NFL line 3 flat is, if it's 3, just say 3. If it's 3.1, say you can say -3, -120, but just say it's 3.1 or 2.85.
Don't say it's 3.285. Promote your boot camp one more time and where people can get tickets.
Yeah, Vegas betting event. You get a prospectus there. Check it out there. By the way, Star Trek, the 2 best original Star Trek episodes were Day of the Dove and Balance of Terror. Balance of Terror is the best of all the Star Trek
Which
episodes.
was the one with half the face was black, half the face was white? Isn't that the best episode?
Well, it's the best line where Kirk says, "You people seem the same. Why are you always fighting for hundreds of years?" And the guy says, "Are you blind? The right side of his face is black. The left side of mine is. We're completely different."
Prop Points is next. Enjoy from VEASAN.